The Master of Master is here to teach you the best way to play Centurion with Resonators. Centurion is one of the newest releases in the Master Duel, and it is a really fun deck. I tried playing it pure initially. Essentially, it's a super sort of splashable, small synchro deck that focuses on placing their monsters into the spell and trap card zones as continuous traps and then special summoning themselves from the back row. A lot like Vision Heroes, right? If you're familiar with Vision Hero Increase. The way these cards work is they're essentially looking to spam out level 12 synchro monsters. So we're abusing the likes of their built-in Auxilia and Legacia, but also through Crimson Dragon of our level 12 synchros. And the pure Centurion deck is pretty good because you can play a bunch of hand traps and it's pretty small and compact. But the deck's splashability is what we're going to focus on here today. And more specifically, what I think is the deck's best mix is going to be Resonators. So essentially, this deck is fucking insane. We have some crazy one-card combos with the likes of Soul Resonator. This was already an insane one-card combo in RDA, but now adding in the Centurion cards, Soul Resonator becomes even stronger. Not only do the actual inherent Red Dragon Archfiend plays get stronger, we also now have 6 additional one-card starters that do not require your normal summon, and that can also set up and play under Max E because they play your monsters into the back row. If you get Max E'd, well, you can just wait until the next turn and then play your combo during your opponent's turn. So I think Centurion really actually adds a lot to Red Dragon Archfiend, and I think Red Dragon Archfiend adds a lot to Centurion in the fact that Red Dragon Archfiend is a deck, right? So the thing about Centurion, and the reason that I'm not super fond of playing it pure, is just because it's very reliant upon literally 2 monster cards, and if any one of them gets hit with, say, an Imperm, you're kind of dead in the water, and it does suck. Now, Red Dragon Archfiend is maybe not the most resilient against those kinds of plays, but things like Soul Resonator, things like Bone Archfiend are going to eat away a lot of those interruptions if your opponent does in fact have them, which will at the very least enable you to make use of your new Centurion cards. So I think the mix is very, very powerful. I do have a one-card combo I want to show off here featuring Soul Resonator, which sets up a crazy, crazy board, including all of your Centurion plays in the combo off of just one card. I will show that off first, and then I've got some replays, and then I want to play a live game or two. This is honestly the most I'm having. This is a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with a lot of the new cards. Ubel's a ton of fun. Centurion's a ton of fun. I've got like a Minadium Centurion video is going to be coming out soon as well. A lot of these new cards they brought out in this latest pack are just A1. Love it, right? So if you want to catch more content as it comes out, make sure you're subscribed and you like this video to let me know what you think of it. We're trying to get back into the swing of it, trying to get things back up to where they were. And if you want to help out with that, by all means, you know what to do. But anyways, let's get into that combo. All right, getting into the combo. Now, again, like I do in most videos in which I do a combo tutorial, I want you to know that this is like a Soul Resonator and floor 4 blank type situations. If you ever have a hand of Soul Resonator and extenders or other cards that are usable, do consider your entire hand holistically. Don't look for a one-card starter and focus on it. This is a bridge for me, sort of like getting you into the deck, getting you over the learning curve and over the hump. From here, you practice, look for opportunities. You know the drill. I'm not going to repeat myself. But anyways, we're going to start, of course, our one-card combo with our one-card combo. Soul Resonator. We're going to activate its effect. We're going to search our deck for a Fiend monster. We're going to grab ourselves a little Bone Archfiend, a little glossy Bone Archfiend. You know it. We're going to activate Bone Archfiend. Here you would send any card from your hand to the graveyard. Because I have Crimson Resonator in hand, I'm going to drop it. You're going to see why in a second. So you would special summon your Bone Archfiend out to the field. Then you would activate Bone Archfiend's effect to target your Soul Resonator. You would send a Fiend from deck to grave. Normally right here you would send the Crimson Resonator. I'm going to send Overloop, which is your next best send, but pretend this is a Crimson Resonator, right? And we're going to decrease this card's level down to 2. Now with our level 2 and our level 4, we're going to Synchro Summon into the Red Rising Dragon. The Red Rising Dragon is one of the best starters in RDA, has been for a long time. This card brings back the Crimson Resonator from your graveyard. And that's important because Crimson Resonator, if your only ever monster is a Dark Dragon Synchro, you can activate its effect, which will special summon 2 extra Resonators from your deck. You're going to choose Vision Resonator and Synchron Resonator. So we're going to summon those 2 out to the field, wherever, it doesn't matter where. Now we're going to go Vision Resonator and Red Rising Dragon. We're going to summon out the Scarred Dragon Archfiend. That'll trigger Vision's effect to search your deck for a spell or trap that mentions the Red Dragon Archfiend. So we're going to grab our Crimson Gaia. Crimson Gaia is a fantastic card. Using Crimson Gaia, we're just going to do this now. We use Crimson Gaia to search our deck for Red Zone, which is a great addition to our end board, and you're going to see why in a moment. For now, though, what we're going to do is we're going to Synchro Summon into our Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, which is an Omni-Negate. So this card is an integral part of your end board. Target a face-up card in the field, negate its effects till the end of the turn. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss is arguably one of your best cards, for sure. That's going to trigger the effect of both of these guys in the graveyard, the Scarred Dragon Archfiend, and the Synchron Resonator. Synchron Resonator is going to add Vision Resonator from your graveyard back to your hand. And the Scarred Dragon Archfiend is going to special summon the Red Dragon Archfiend, as well as destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls if you're going second. So this is part of a really cool OTK going second, where you can use Scarred, summon out RDA, nuke the board, Crimson Gaia brings back Scarred Dragon Archfiend, bang bang bang, lethal. Easy dubs. But we're not doing that right now. You're going to see that in the gameplay though, it's a blast. So now we're going to go with we're going to special summon the Vision Resonator because we have a level 5 or higher Dark monster. We can summon it out to the field. Now we're going to go into a Dark level 10 Synchro, which when you summon really doesn't matter. I play both because they give you sort of gas in different situations. In a situation like this, because we have Overloop in our graveyard, we would summon Dissipator. Specifically, which of the 2 tuners you use at this stage doesn't matter. But you'll either summon Bane or Dissipator. Usually Dissipator if you have access to Overloop in your graveyard or another way of banishing Dissipator, thanks to your red zone. Now we're going to use our level 10 and our level 2 to go into our CENTUR-ION Auxilia. And this is where the 2 decks intercept. And that's why you sort of want to choose Dissipator if you can banish it from your graveyard. Now we're going to go for Auxilia's effect. Auxilia is going to search our deck for the stand-up CENTUR-ION. So it is. Going to grab us the field spell. We're going to activate the field spell. Using its effect, we're going to drop a card from hand to grave. Any one of these, well, of course not red zone, of course. But any one of these other cards is fine. So we're going to drop our Emblema. Then we're going to set Trudea straight to the field. We're going to activate Trudea, summon itself out to the field. It can change its level, but we don't care because we're going to activate its other effect to return itself straight back to the back row, and it will also set Primera to the back row. Now we're going to activate Primera, which will summon itself out to the field. It'll use its effect then to search your deck for another CENTUR-ION card. We're going to search our deck for Wake Up CENTUR-ION. This card is pretty important, and you need to have a monster in your back row to use it. So now we're going to go for Wake Up CENTUR-ION, and you get to summon a token that's either level 4 or level 8. In this circumstance, we're actually going to choose level 4. We are still Dark Dragon Synchro locked, so there's not a lot of level 12 Dark Dragon Synchros left to summon in the game. So we're going to go for a level 4 instead. And now using our 4 on our 4, we're going to Synchro Summon. Bang and bang. We're going to go into the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. And this is effectively the end board for the deck. Now, again, if you want to be fancy, you can go... I'm going to go ahead and do this just to show it off. You will go Overloop in your graveyard to banish the Dissipator. And then during your opponent's turn, you can use Red Zone to bring the Dissipator back. We're not going to do that right now because this is a 1-card combo demonstration. But I am going to set this to the field, and I am going to go end phase, which is going to trigger Auxilia to set our Premier back to our back row. So this is the end board, and you're going to see that it's not quite as simple as it looks. They're going to go for Red Ice Fusion. We don't care. I am actually going to ask that just to be disrespectful. But fuck Joey Wheeler, right? And what we're really going to be doing here is we're going to be activating Trudea and Primera. And we're going to continue our combo during our opponent's turn. So Primera going to summon itself. Then when Trudea is summoned, you will get the option yet again to modulate its level. This time you will boost it up to level 8. Fuck Red Ice Fusion. And now, because you've summoned a monster, you can use your field spell, which says during, basically once per turn when a monster is special summoned, you get to synchro summon using at least one Centurion on your field. So we're going to use the field spell now. We're also going to use Centurion Primera just to search our deck for an additional card. Again, this deck really sort of pluses after like the initial turn. You start searching and drawing and getting cards like crazy. We're going to grab the Gargoyle. Just, again, for potential fallout. It doesn't matter what you grab here. It really doesn't. Now we're going to go Crimson Dragon. Again, toggle on for this part. Toggle on. Important. Crimson Dragon comes out. Now we're going to use the Crimson Dragon's effect. We're going to target our level 12 Auxilia. It's going to shuffle itself back and summon out the red Supernova Dragon. So just like that, we have a Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, which effectively means our red zone has a card destruction. So we have an interruption here. We have an Omni Negate. We have a field wipe twice, right? You can field wipe twice because when this card banishes itself to use its effect, you can bring it back off of red zone to do it again. It is a soft once per turn. So this card being able to wipe their entire board twice is insane. Plus, you've got follow-up with the Crimson Gaia and stand-up Centurion, as well as your search off Premier. So you plus like fucking crazy, and you set up a goddamn intimidating board. So that is that's RDA Centurion in a nutshell. That's the main sort of combo. Are you going to do this exact combo line every single game? Probably not, and the main reason for that is normally you can do something better because of the way Resonators works. We play a shitload of extenders and sort of alternative starters, and it really is crazy that we can play through a good amount of interruption, we can set up a decent number of different boards, and we have incredible offensive potential with the likes of Crimson Gaia, which is effectively a Raigeki and a Book of Eclipse and Monster Reborn and a Surge once per turn all built into one. This card is fucking insane. And then we've got our Supernova Dragon wiping the board twice every turn. We got Red Zone popping a card. We got Scarlet wiping the whole board. We've got Abyss negating cards every turn. It's just incredible, right? That's why I'm a fan of it. It does require you to play a few weird cards sometimes, and we're going to talk more about that at the deck profile at the end. But I do want to show the deck in action, so without me rambling on anymore, let's get right into some replays. First of all, let's answer that burning question. How does the deck match up into Duel? We're going to start this combo off with Bone Archfiend, showing one of the alternative combo routes that I mentioned. Sending Vision allows us to search for Crimson Gaia. They're going to go for Ash Blossom onto our Crimson Gaia. I decide, I actually kind of need this Crimson Gaia. So I am, in fact, going to hit that Ash Blossom with Called by the Grave. So we are going to get that. Crimson Gaia will thus resolve, searching our deck for the Soul Resonator. Soul Resonator then, normal summoning, going to search our deck for the Loop. Going to be useful later, because now we're going to go Bone Archfiend, dropping the Crimson Resonator to the graveyard, Synchro summoning into the red Rising Dragon, bringing back the Crimson Resonator from the graveyard, using its effect to summon out Vision and Synchron Resonator, so we can Synchro summon into the Scarred Dragon Archfiend before going into the Bestial Dissipator next. Using Scarred Dragon Archfiend, we're going to summon out the Red Dragon Archfiend. We're going to go into the Abyss here. It doesn't really matter what order you do these things in, so long as Vision is in the graveyard at the time of Synchron Resonator being used. We're going to banish that Scarred Dragon Archfiend to summon out the Loop using Dissipator, bringing back the Scarred Dragon Archfiend, and just like this, we're able to go into Auxilia, an entirely different route. There you go, again, just showing off that versatility. Once again, grabbing the field spell, Loop's going to banish the RDA, adding itself back to hand, going to activate stand-up Centurion. Centurion going to drop the Loop yet again, setting Trudia. Trudia summoning itself to the field, going to grab Primera. Primera then going to activate, summoning itself out. We're going to grab the Phalanx here because we're going to leave Primera on our field. We don't really have an effective way of getting rid of it, but what we do have is the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. We have the Bestial Dissipator, which has both a negate and a destruction effect at the ready. We have the fact that Trudia will be able to summon itself to go into the stand-up Centurion sort of Crimson Dragon play. And we got some hand traps, we got some follow-up, and we got the Centurion Phalanx, which is a targeting banish. So, all good in my book. I'd say off of a Bone Archfiend, I'd say that's pretty fucking good. We're going to go Phantom of Duel here. We're going to immediately force him to proc that Duel. That's a-okay by me. We're going to use that Maxi. I just really kind of wanted Maxi to resolve, if I'm being honest. We're going to chain to the Maxi the Trudea here. Trudea then going to summon itself out to the field, boosting its level up to 8. Maxi resolving. Abyss is going to be then destroying a Spirit of Yubel. Stand-up CENTUR-ION then going to activate, allowing me to synchro summon during my opponent's turn, synchro summoning into the Crimson Dragon. I actually believe during this replay, I may have been playing Synchro Rumble. I was, yes, which is definitely a card you can play. It's not a card you have to play. But it's really, really good if you've got a decent starting hand. It can be a bit of a brick sometimes, but as an extender, it's just awesome. What's worth noting is that, and I kind of forgot about this at the time, Auxilia protects face-up spells and traps from being destroyed by card effects. So this Harpy's Feather Duster only threatened our Phalanx, so we're going to use it to banish this Yubel. Our Field Spell and our Crimson Gaia are safe because of Auxilia, so that is a impotent-ass Feather Duster right there. They're going to go Samsara the Lotus, we're going to go the Bestial Dissipator, shuffling back the banished Ash Blossom into his deck to negate the Samsara. One card left in hand, they pass turn. We're going to go Auxilia here, resetting Trudea back to the field, and as far as I can see, you know, that's GG's, right? Easy dubs. However, they do get Yubel back. The Phalanx is only a temporary banish. We're going to bring back the Red Dragon Archfiend here, summoning a Vision Resonator, so we can go with the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. Vision Resonator then going to activate, grabbing us the Red Zone Resonator Call, going to grab us another Soul Resonator to serve essentially as fodder. We're going to negate that Yubel, swinging in with 75, destroying it, but that does allow him to summon the Terror Incarnate. It does allow us to also, however, go into the Crimson Gaia. The Terror Incarnate is a bit of a different beast compared to regular Yubel, and unfortunately I don't have an active negate to swing over it, so I'm simply going to set one and pass. In my head, I've got more than enough time to play around this, and I will simply deal with it next turn. They're going to go for the opening here. I kind of don't want to use my Abyss too early. I do make a mistake here at some stage. Yeah, I think here I go for Supernova. Yeah, I really shouldn't have done that. Should have held on to this because it's a very powerful interruption and I kind of used it a little bit early. I could have Red Zone popped the Phantom and then used Supernova at a later date, but I didn't. Here we are. Misplay on my part. Let's see how heavily it impacts the game. Let's see if our opponent can take advantage of that and maybe eke out a victory here. They're going to pop Spirit of Yubel directly from the deck. We're going to summon Spirit of Yubel from the deck as well, activating both his search and summon effects. So they're going to summon out the original Yubel out to the field, and they're going to search their deck for Nightmare Pain, which is going to be, well, a nightmare and a pain to deal with. They're going to normal summon Dark Beckoning Beast, searching for the Chaos Summoning Beast, utilizing the additional normal summon to bring out the Chaos Summoning Beast, going into Yama. Yama gets searching the deck for a Unchained card. We decide that that is a very valid opportunity to use Ash Blossom. Now, we are in danger here, and this is something that is definitely worth noting. We have a monster with 8,000 attack points on our field. He is playing Yubel with Nightmare Pain face up. If he swings in to my red Supernova Dragon with one of his Yubel monsters, I will instantly die. So we need to be very careful. We're going to go Red Zone immediately, dealing with that Nightmare Pain. I do not want to look at it. I don't want to deal with it. However, I should have used my brain. He has opening of the Spirit Gates right fucking there. He can just grab it back, activating it once more. I should have waited until he used the effect of it, but it is what it is. The SP Little Knight banishing the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. I'm going to chain to the SP Little Knight, negating the Nightmare Pain until the end of this turn. That is going to, at the very least, prevent him from going for any lethal plays this turn. So we're going to lose one of our monsters, our Dissipator there, and then the Abyss. I actually make a... Oh yes, what I should mention, the Terror Incarnate actually during the end phase of the player's turn will destroy all other monsters on the field. Now luckily Soul Resonator can be banished to protect my monsters from destruction so long as I control a Red Dragon Archfiend. So we sort of get through that pretty unscathed. We are going to use Crimson Gaia here, which was a misplay because that now means we no longer have any active monster zones to get our Bestial Dissipator back. But honestly, that doesn't end up mattering. They're going to grab back Yubel. Yama then going to activate, bringing back Spirit of Yubel, popping the original Yubel. SP Little Knight coming back, and Dissipator heading to the graveyard. How are we going to win this? We're going to start it off with Crimson Gaia, Using the Vision Resonator then, we're going to go Bone Archfiend, sending our... And this is interesting. So we send the Red Dragon Archfiend to summon the Bone Archfiend, but because Bone Archfiend sends as cost, we have the ability to chain our Red Zone. So I'm going to chain Red Zone to instead summon the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss to the now open Monster Zone. So Bone Archfiend fizzles. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss targets Nightmare Pain. He's going to activate SP Little Knight to try and banish my Supernova. Now we get to use Supernova's effect to wipe out his board. Everything is gone, and it is open season. Very entertaining duel. I did make quite a serious misplay on my opponent's turn, and that definitely could have cost me the game. Supernova Dragon is a stupendously powerful card in the Duel matchup. But it's very easy to fuck it up like I did. So just be careful of that. Again, you almost always have the tools you need to come back from a situation like that, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but just learn from my mistakes. Do we handle something like a Horus player who has everything? Well, we're going to start off with our Stone Sweeper as we normally do. You're going to see a slightly different variation of the one card combo this time around. We're going to go for the Bone Archfiend here, dropping a card to grave. We're going to summon itself out, reducing its level just like before into the Red Rising Dragon. Bringing back the Crimson Resonator from our graveyard. Now we're going to use its effect, summon out our 2 Resonators as per usual, going into the Scarred Dragon Archfiend, Vision Resonator, adding Crimson Gaia from our deck to our hand. Crimson Gaia then going to add... Well, we're not using its search effect yet. We're going to go into the Abyss first. Scarred Dragon Archfiend and Synchron Resonator both activating in the graveyard. Going to bring back their respective targets. Synchron Resonator targeting our Vision Resonator, and Scarred Dragon Archfiend summoning out the Red Dragon Archfiend. So now we're going to special summon the Vision. We're going to go into the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Being. We're now going to use these two to go into CENTUR-ION Auxilia. In this replay, we choose the Being over the Dissipator because I don't have a way to banish the Dissipator, so there's not a lot of point. I would rather keep it in my extra deck for later. Now we're going to go for CENTUR-ION stand-up CENTUR-ION. Sorry, we're going to play Trudea just like we normally would. Trudea then going to play Primera. That's going to allow us then to grab Red Zone. I don't know why we did it in that order, but we did. Primera then going to summon out to the field. Going to grab the Trap card this time. We choose not to grab the spell because we already have Auxilia on the board. I don't need to go into anything fancy here. I also don't really fancy wasting a bunch of resources on a potential Scarlight. I don't want to go into Scarlight with this replay. I would rather hold on to my resources, play it smart, give myself that extra interruption, right? So we decided to play the combo like this, slightly differently, very ever so slightly different, but our opponent has super polymerization, discarding protection of Horus. This is a problem. Not only do we lose our Omni Negate, we also lose our level 12 target for Crimson Dragon. So this is terrible, right? This is a massive kick in the teeth to this strategy. We're going to go for Max C afterwards, but they've got Called by the Grave as well. So Max C isn't even an option anymore. No cards left in hand. We're left only with the resources on our field. We're going to have to make it work here. We do, however, still have a lot of plays. They're going to go trade in, dropping Imset, drawing 2, going Walls of the Imperial Tomb, bringing back the protection. That's going to be our trigger to summon Trudea. Now we're going to synchro summon into Legacia. Legacia on summon, going to draw a card and pop his protection. We're going to use now the destruction of that card to bring back the Scarred Dragon Archfiend. Imset and Garura going to go into the SP Little Knight. Little Knight going to target the Scarred Dragon Archfiend. We could potentially respond with the likes of Red Zone, but him banishing our Scarred Dragon Archfiend really doesn't matter because I can just use Red Zone to bring its dumbass right back. He is, however, going to chain then Little Knight to get rid of our Legacia, which again I don't really care about because Legacia has done its job. So Scarred Dragon Archfiend is now back on our field. Horus being added to hand, the Imset. They're going to return the card back to deck. Now they're going to go for the Imset, dropping 2. We're going to go for Red Zone to pop the field spell and Called by the Grave to get rid of that Imset. That should be enough to finish off the last of his resource generation. Nothing left in grave to special summon, no cards left in hand, and no chance of winning. And there you go. Playing through a pretty tough situation. Again, we did have quite a lot of plays still. And again, that's part of the joys of the deck, right? A regular CENTUR-ION deck may not have been able to do very much other than perhaps Legacia Pop 1. But what kept us in that game was the sort of pop off of the red zone. It was the follow-up surge of the Crimson Gaia. It was the recurring from Banish Pile off of the red zone. It was things like that that really kept us in that game, which is where I think, again, this deck edges out regular Centurion, because I suppose you could make the argument that, oh, well, if it was regular Centurion, then that might have been a Super Poly on your field, or that might have been an Imperm, or that might have been whatever. But it wasn't, and we won. Let's hop into a live game next. Alright, so our first match was Stun. I may or may not include it in the video. It was kind of bullshit. But anyways, let's get into this game, and hopefully this should be a good one. Again, I don't know how much of that last game I'm including, so I will reiterate. This deck did carry us up to Diamond 2, from Diamond 4, I want to say. Still in Diamond, so it's not like, you know, in the Master rank where we normally are, but I just haven't been playing Master Duel a lot. But it's a lot of fun, and it's been doing very well. So I think that definitely deserves acknowledgement. We could do some funky stuff with Trudea here. Let me try to beat out some plays from our opponent. Gargoyle is a card I'm constantly back and forth on whether or not to include. It does definitely come up sometimes in terms of its utility, but it's not the most consistently useful card. But more often than not, I can just pitch it to Graveyard and then I don't have to worry about it anyway, and I could just like replay it off of Auxilia or something later. So let's play the game a little bit. Let's go Stone Sweeper. It's not the worst Ash in the world. Okay, yeah. It's not a great Ash. It's not the worst Ash, though. So alright, I'm stuck. I'm thinking, do we go Crimson Gaia into, like, Soul Resonator and do all of that, and then have, like, an awkward bridge into Centurion? Or do I just commit to Centurion here? Okay, let me see what they do in response to this. I'm going to activate Crimson Gaia. I'm going to activate its effect. Do they have anything? They do not. That really makes me want to grab Soul Resonator. It does. I'm doing it. You can't stop me. We're grabbing Soul Resonator. I'm going to normal summon it. Again, this does create a messy bridge and does also make us susceptible to this fucking Imperm. Damn it, I knew it was coming. Imperm is this deck's greatest weakness. It really is. Imperm sucks, man. Most of our hand traps we can cope with. I mean, to be honest, most interruptions on Soul Resonator kind of suck. Soul Resonator, in a lot of scenarios, is pretty important. If you already have the likes of Bone Archfiend, if you have Void Apocalypse, if you have Foolish Burial, ideally Stone Sweeper searches you an extender. There's a ton of extenders you can have. But we drew 2 Centurion cards. Which is always the risk, right? That's why I'm constantly back and forth on whether or not I want to include Gargoyle, because it is definitely useful and definitely comes up. But more often than not, it just feels like a brick. So I'm probably going to cut it. But I wanted to show you guys that it was an option, right? So, you know. Oh, Duel. Oh, this is fun. I was being sarcastic, by the way, if you couldn't tell. Although, honestly, this could also be fine. That is a tier 2 deck, ladies and gentlemen. That is a tier 2 deck. That is a Monster to Gate pass right there. Love to fucking see it, buddy. Crimson Gaia time. God, I love continuous cards that search. Just searching every turn. Oh my god, it just feels like so much advantage. It feels like I'm cheating almost. I'm not going to make the same mistake I did last time. I'm going to search for an extender this time. I'm going to search Vision Resonator. He gets just fucking... Okay, I'm going to imperm this dork first. Just so I don't have to think about it. You've got something? He's got something. And I don't like it. He's got something. And I don't like it. Summon out the Vision. Are you going to play Maxi now? I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. It's fine. Our deck can play through Maxi. I literally don't care. We're going to play Centurion Trudea as our normal summon. Into the battle phase. I'm just going to get some licks in on this man. Take out Phantom of Duel. There's no... Okay, I was going to say, there's no way the last card in his hand was Spirit of Duel. He shuffled 2 of them into the deck. There's no way. Alright, I'll take my 1000 damage. And then what we'll do is we'll just activate Trudea. Gonna place her in the back row, and I'm gonna place Primera in the back row. I think it's worth it. So I'm gonna summon Primera. Normally you wouldn't do this, but I think them drawing one is worth me getting access to Phalanx. Then we're gonna go Emblem Oath. We're gonna use this to set the field spell, which I will now activate. Set one. And I shall pass. I'm not gonna get too zealous. We definitely could have made more plays. But in the face of Max C, there is 0 point nor benefit. But these types of games always feel so tame. You know what I mean? Alright. So we're gonna do this. Activate our Trudea. Trudea summons itself out, boosting up its level. Gonna activate Centurion, stand up Centurion's effect. And we're just gonna go Legacia. Just keep it nice and simple. Don't need to do anything super fancy. Just Legacia. Activate its effect. That'll let us draw one and pop one. Do you have Sharvara in hand? Is that why this keeps popping up? Get fucked, idiot. Oh, we drew the Ash. Nice. Nice draw. Good at the game. We're good at the game. Yep, bye-bye. Weird fucking match. I know. But you know what? Master Duel is all about these weird matches. And there we have the list. I did actually take out the Veiler to put in the maxi. That does represent the final list. I was part of a duel room with a friend in a Discord server. By the way, if you want to be involved in the Discord, to be in those types of duel rooms, happen all the time. Join the Discord. But anyways, this is the list. It's a very solid list. You've got a ton of one-card starters. We've got our Soul Resonator, Resonator Call, we've got Crimson Gaia, we've got the Stone Sweeper, all of which give you access to your regular Soul Resonator combo. We're sort of minimizing the number of bricks or garnets that we have in the deck. So we've only got the one Synchron Resonator, we've got one Crimson Resonator. One Overloop has been very, very useful. Also playing some extenders. The triple Bone Archfiend as well. This card is also a one-card starter for a different combo line that maybe we'll talk about in another video. And that gives you direct... You can get direct access to Bone Archfiend and its combo through Foolish Burial and Void Apocalypse, which are great extenders. So there's a lot going on with this list, and it is potentially a little bit complicated for people who have never played RDA before. So before you get too wrapped up in the Centurion stuff, I would maybe practice just with the Red Dragon Archfiend cards first. You can check back in my previous videos on that. That deck hasn't really changed. And then once you're more familiar with RDA and you get these choices, you'll then be able to very easily bleed into your Centurion cards. Now, in terms of ratios, breaks, build, what exactly do you need versus not need? What is optional? What is not? So, in terms of cards you don't need, right? First of all, non-engine. Let's reduce that down so you guys can get a better look at the deck itself. And then we've got engine that is not mandatory. Overloop is not mandatory. You can cut it. I think this card is amazing because it's a level 4 tuner. Now, that has a lot more meaning in this list than it does even in regular RDA. This is already a good card in Red Dragon Archfiend, but it's even better in this version because 4+8 gives you your Centurion monsters. So I do think Overloop's awesome, but you don't need it. And part of what makes Overloop awesome is the fact that we're already playing Foolish Burial and Void Apocalypse for our Bone Archfiend. So Overloop acts as another fantastic target off of our Foolish Burial cards. Both of which, of course, are not technically mandatory. You need one Synchron Resonator, need one Crimson Resonator, at least 2 Vision. You could bump this to 3 if you really want to, but I haven't had any problems with this card at 2. You would maybe struggle a little bit with it at 1 because Crimson Resonator's effect wouldn't be as powerful, but it is still definitely a viable pick. You could play it at 1, you really could, honestly, if you really wanted to. Triple Soul Resonator, 1-card starter, Bone Archfiend, 1-card starter, crazy good extender as well. Having this card in hand normally means you can play through most forms of interruption. At least one layer of interruption. It gives you sort of like a way to play through and extend past. One of each of our Centurion main deck monsters. You do not need to play Gargoyle. You can cut Gargoyle. I'm more and more tempted to every single game I play. But then it comes in handy that one game, and you're like, ah, that's why this card is here. But is it worth the brick? Probably not. So you can cut this card if you don't want to play it. But you do need one Trudea and one Primera. Stone Sweeper, anywhere from 1 to 3, depending on how many copies you have. I personally think that you can't have enough copies of Soul Resonator, because I was playing a 45 card list. So between 1 to 3 Stone Sweepers, I definitely think at least the 1 is very good, because it's a consistency card. Plus in this deck, you're playing a field spell, so you can actually special summon the Stone Sweeper out of the field. Which, as a level 5 non-tuner, that's very useful alongside many of your tuner monsters. Just worth bearing in mind. Resonator Call. Mandatory free of this card is fucking insane. Just search a Resonator. No cost, not once per turn, no nothing. This card's incredible. Perfect Ashbeat. Stand-Up Centurion. Stand-Up Centurion is a core part of your main card, sort of combo, of course. You have to play it at 3, I would say. You could, like, get away with less than this, but it's a 1-card starter as well for the engine that doesn't require your normal summon. Why the hell wouldn't you play it at 3? This card's incredible. Gaia's another one of those cards like Vision, where it's kind of, like, you can play this at 3 for sure. This card's really fucking good. It is technically, again, a 1-card starter. It'll set up the entire combo other than Red Zone by itself. So Crimson Gaia is a really good card as well, honestly. But because it still takes you to use your normal summon, that's why I opt to play 2 of it. Because I've got so many ways of getting into Soul Resonator already that realistically, if my normal summon Soul Resonator combo hasn't gone off, searching for another Resonator card is not going to fix that. So I think this card at 2 is fine. Emblema, amazing card. Again, 1-card starter for Centurion. Why the hell wouldn't you play it? A lot of the value in Centurion, as far as I've seen and what I've been enjoying, is these cards giving you the ability to, number 1, play under Max C, as well as number 2, play past your main combo being interrupted, is incredible, right? You know, you normal summon Soul Resonator, it gets ashed, it gets impermed, it gets whatever. If you've got one of these 2 cards in hand, you're just playing Centurion now. That's pretty handy. Wake Up Centurion is a card I have tried to cut. You have to have it. I've tried cutting this card. It doesn't work. You have to play it. Very good card. It can feel like a brick sometimes, but it's a very good card. You must play it. Phalanx. This is a card that you don't have to play, but feels awesome. Almost always. Phalanx is incredible. I would definitely recommend playing this, but again, if you're trying to be as Puritan about this as possible, you can technically cut it. Same with Crimson Gaia, you can technically cut this to 1, but it's an amazing card. And this is kind of like the bare bones of your deck, right? This is pretty much as bare as I think your deck can get. And from here, you just pack it out with extenders, non-engine, just whatever sort of suits your fancy at the moment. You really can play around with the Resonator engine a lot. You can reduce it, increase it, because some of these cards feel pretty bad in hand sometimes, but there's other situations in which they feel like a really good extenders. So honestly, a lot of that comes down to personal preference. Extra deck as well, there are definitely some changes to be made. It feels a little bad that we're not playing the Cosmic Blazar Dragon, but again, the extra deck's a little bit tight because of the Scarred package. So Scarred Dragon Archfiend, number 1 is part of your sort of turn 1 combo, but this card's board breaking ability, and it in combination with Crimson Gaia, with its ability to press for lethal damage, is just fucking insane. So I do play 2 copies of it, and I do play 2 copies of RDA. You could reduce that if you want to. You could honestly cut Red Rising to 1. The theory behind Red Rising at more than 1 is follow-up combos, but more specifically, its effects are not once per turn, so you could realistically go into a second one if you wanted to continue your combo if you get interrupted. However, I literally have never done that. And there's not a ton of situations, even analyzing the deck, where number 1, it's easy to do, and number 2 is actually even really that profitable. Especially with the Centurion card. So you can definitely argue Red Rising to 1. I really like the RDA package at 2 and 2, but again, you could reduce it. You could put Scarred down to 1 and just rely on bringing it back off of Crimson Gaia and Red Zone. Again, totally viable thing you could do. Bane, you don't have to play. I play it because it's a pretty... It offers a lot of unique situations where Dissipator doesn't. Like, it can generate resources in circumstances that Dissipator can't. So I do find Bane to be somewhat useful. Supernova, Crimson, and the 2 Centurions, you gotta play. These cards are all incredible. So there's technically, I guess, 3 flex spots, I would say. If you really wanted to play Cosmic Blazar, you totally could. There's likely some other really funky cards you can play as well, but this is kind of your bare minimum. That makes sense. So what I'm doing here, and what I'm doing in showing you this is the minimum of what you have to play. What you do with these cards past this point is entirely up to you. You can go back to my build if you want. I personally think that we were pretty close to having it good. If I were to make a less sort of brick heavy version of my version of this deck, I would maybe cut Gargoyle. I would maybe think about Vision or Crimson Gaia to 1. But that's about it, right? I think the rest of this deck is pretty good. You know, decent balance of extenders, pretty decent balance of starters and extenders. We have a decent number of non-engine cards. I think that this is pretty solid. So, long rant aside, that's my thoughts on the deck. That's my thoughts on this build. If you have better ideas, let me know down below, or hop into the Discord to let me know there. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.